Chapter 122 to 124. "So fierce, Sensei," Yuto said, rubbing his forehead. "An attack must be returned," reflected the domineering nature of the moon god. Tsunade uprooted a large tree and threw it at Shinosuke's corpse, prompting Yuto to react. With a forceful push, Shinosuke's corpse, guided by Yuto's will, hurtled towards the ground like a meteor. In an instant, the distance between them shrank to less than 10 meters. A strong, repulsive armor wrapped around Shinosuke's corpse's arms. Tsunade raised her leg sharply, appearing to want to meet the attack head-on with her heavenly foot of pain. However, Yuto knew this move was just a feint. Having trained extensively with Tsunade in the back mountains of the Senju clan's land, he was well aware of her habit of using deceptive moves to set up her real attacks, usually with her hidden fists. Despite their delicate appearance, Tsunade's small hands could easily shatter a cliff with a light punch. Thanks to her powerful regenerative abilities, Tsunade's strongest combat strategy was to engage in close-quarter combat. Newcomers often fell for her tricks, but Yuto was too familiar with her. He knew the timing of her killer moves, the speed of regeneration after releasing the Yin Seal, her preferred targets during a fight, and even where she applied lotion after a bath. Shinosuke's corpse didn't block Tsunade's renowned heavenly foot of pain. Instead, it ducked low, using gravity to pull her hidden fist from her waist, causing her to momentarily lose balance. Seizing the opportunity, Yuto directed the corpse to punch Tsunade's arm. Such combat prowess! Tsunade's eyes widened in surprise at the moon god's incredible reflexes as she was sent flying, crashing through dozens of trees. Despite the pain, such injuries were trivial for someone with the 100 healings and Senju Uzumaki bloodline. However, Tsunade's retreat opened a path for the corpse. Rather than pursuing her, Shinosuke's corpse continued to glide forward at low altitude. "Stop!" Tsunade yelled in panic, but she couldn't catch up. In a flash, Yuto saw the corpse wearing a Hanya mask, but quicker still was a kunai etched with the flying thunder god seal. Bang! Minato Namikaze appeared between Yuto and Shinosuke's corpse, lightning flashing, and the power of dust release showing its fangs in the air. "Yuto, it's okay," Minato said, turning back with a bright smile. "I won't let him harm my comrades." Always showing up just in time, Minato-senpai, Yuto thought. But outwardly, he sighed in relief and nodded. "Be careful, Minato-senpai." "Don't worry. The moon god won't survive today." Minato then focused intently on Shinosuke's corpse. Yuto acknowledged that fighting against the flying thunder god was tough in terms of speed. Moreover, with the third Tsuchikage and Raikage ready to strike, Tsunade approaching, and Hiruzen Sarutobi and Orochimaru in another area, the mask's effect time was down to 7 seconds. It seemed today the ninja villages might finally defeat the Hanya man, but the moon god could not be defeated. With this thought, Yuto channeled all his chakra into Shinosuke's corpse, causing repulsion and attraction forces to roar again. This time, instead of swirling outside the body, the forces compressed and intertwined within the corpse's body. The power endlessly accumulated, making Shinosuke's corpse a super bomb. Half awakened. Tensagen, Act of Judgment. If Yuto performed this move, his body would be torn apart, with over 80% of his chakra network destroyed, leaving him crippled. But using Shinosuke's corpse was no problem. Boom! The explosion enveloped the entire forest, a blinding light covering everything. The only thing visible was the masked man halting, followed by a super ninjutsu obliterating everything in front of it. Run! Even Tsunade, unable to transfer such a massive energy release with her creation rebirth, could only retreat. Everyone tried to distance themselves from Shinosuke's corpse. Even sensory ninja and Byakugan users couldn't observe through the violent chakra storm and bright light. Except for Yuto. Using the precise manipulation of attraction and repulsion, he forced a path through the chaotic space to Shinosuke's corpse. The corpse was now a mutilated mess, with limbs torn off, organs exposed, muscles and tissues in tatters, and no intact skin left. "Thank you, Shinosuke." Yuto gently gathered the shattered remains and sealed them in a scroll. He then transformed, donned the Hanya mask, removed his Jonin armor, and switched to a black robe. The intense light and chakra turbulence slowly faded. The massive explosion scattered everyone, making it hard to find comrades. Without alibis, everyone was suspect. Moreover, 3 minutes ago, the moon god had easily sent Lone Lion flying, lowering suspicions on Yuto. No one could doubt him now. "All Konoha shinobi, retreat!" Minato's light flashed, commanding his subordinates to leave the battlefield, while he remained focused on the moon god. Yuto took a breath and exited the mask mode. From a tree, he looked down at the approaching Raikage and Tsuchikage with disdain. Manipulating Shinosuke's corpse allowed for extraordinary chakra infusion, but couldn't use the accompanying dujutsu. For someone with a sage's eye, the strongest trump card was always the dujutsu. Repulsion and attraction, Fuinjutsu absorption seal were good, but lacked the instant kill power against someone like Minato. "You guys are really troublesome." Yuto touched the Hanya mask's horn, using the second mask, releasing the sealed Byakugan to become the half-awakened Tenseigan. As chakra surged, the accompanying dujutsu activated. This time, Yuto didn't release it all at once, but meticulously controlled the output. A giant golden blade appeared in his hand. Kumoniba! Yuto played with the golden long sword. The resilient blade shimmered in his hand like sunlight condensed into a flowing stream. Due to the impact of the Art of Judgment, this dense forest area had been completely leveled. The 3 top experts had all arrived, confronting the man wearing a Hanya mask, as they had at the beginning. A massive chakra reaction came from afar. Yuto knew that was Nagato fighting with the people from Konoha. Hiruzen and the others were probably held back by Nagato. 3 minutes left, but this time, it should be enough. Yuto thought to himself, gripping the hilt tightly. Without wasting any words, he used gravitational force to lift the third raikage off the ground. Slash! Yuto instantly dashed to his side, slashing down with the Kumoniba. It glowed brightly, activating his lightning release armor to its maximum intensity, raising his arm to block, confident in his well-tempered body. However, no one expected that the golden long sword would change shape at the last moment before striking the lightning release armor. The blade suddenly softened and split, turning into dozens of soft willow ribbons. Chakra flowed through them, moving as Yuto willed, like the tentacles of a sea monster. In an instant, the dozens of golden ribbons used their flexibility to bind the third raikage tightly. Yuto clenched the hilt, violently swinging it, using A as a meteor hammer to smash into the ground. Bang, bang, bang! He swung a left and right, repeatedly smashing him into the ground, turning the area within 100 meters into rubble in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a small figure suddenly fell from above, a rock fist larger than a human head crashing into Yuto's repulsive force field. An immense weight pressed down. Earth release, ultra-added weight rock technique. Onoki, wary of the moon god's Fuinjutsu absorption seal, didn't use the more destructive dust release, but turned his body into a weight, pinning the enemy down. The third Tsuchikage used all his strength, making the already scarred ground groan again. Yuto felt a mountain pressing down on him, converting all his chakra into repulsive force to resist Onoki's gravity. His body felt rusted. Even moving a finger was difficult. A yellow flash appeared. Minato wouldn't miss any opportunity. The kunai of the Flying Thunder God technique appeared in Yuto's sight, followed closely by a blue Rasengan heading towards him. At almost the same moment, immense force came from Yuto's hand. The third Raikage, bound by the golden ribbons, struggled like a trapped beast, pulling on the ribbons, beginning a tug-of-war with Yuto. Although the weapon had turned into ribbons, its essence was still a divine weapon with strong, slashing and cutting properties. Even A's tempered hands bled under its sharpness. But he held on, working with Onoki to restrict the enemy, awaiting Minato's fatal strike. At this moment, the moon god's light voice reached the three's ears. "When did you get the illusion that this blade can't leave my hand?" Yuto suddenly let go. The hilt turned into a chain, wrapping around his waist, pulling him out of the attack range, avoiding Minato's Rasengan and Onoki's rock fist technique. He flew swiftly towards the bound A. Simultaneously, the hilt of the Kumoniba changed again, enlarging in the wind to form a sturdy humanoid monster. It moved as fast as Yuto, using repulsive force, surrounded by sharp blades, silently charging at Onoki and Minato, blocking their pursuit. The ability of the Kumoniba has two forms. Unlike the Murakumo Slash's unmatched cutting power, the Kumoniba sacrificed power for unique flexibility. The blade could transform into various shapes, and the hilt could freely move after transformation. The eyes are the organ closest to the soul. So-called dojutsu's ability reflects the heart. To sever the cage of adversity, one needs the slash that can cut everything. As a transmigrator and rebel, Yuto had no true companions, thus the ever-changing and autonomous blade. What kind of person you are determines what kind of dojutsu's ability you have. This is the rule in the Otsutsuki bloodline. The humanoid monster formed from the hilt blocked Onoki and Minato, giving Yuto the chance to reach A. "Come!" the third Raikage roared, extending a single finger. Hell stab, one finger new kite, divine revolving heaven. The two clashed with all their might, shaking even the atmosphere. A's one finger. Nukite couldn't break through the advanced version of divine revolving heaven. His arm was forced up by the immense force, exposing his chest. Yuto fiercely jabbed, his fingertip covered by the Kumoniba transformed into a cone-shaped spike, encased in a highly compressed repulsive force gun. This fleeting moment of opportunity was his most powerful move. The third Raikage flew backward, at a speed that even the golden ribbon couldn't hold. Blood splattered from his chest. Such a tough, lightning brute. Yuto clicked his tongue in his mind. The third Raikage's skin was indeed tough. That strike, which could pierce a tailed beast, failed to kill the third Raikage. It penetrated the skin and muscle, but was blocked by bone, protecting the heart. Roar. The golden humanoid monster wailed. As the third Raikage was repelled, it was also defeated, reverting to the hilt and returning to Yuto's hand, rubbing against his palm like a small dog. "Good job." Yuto patted it, then, ignoring the approaching Onoki and Minato, flew towards the gap left by the third Raikage. A wasn't dead yet. With his monster physique capable of wrestling with the eight tails, at least 80% of his combat power remained, plus the other two. Yuto knew even if he used the Murakumo Slash, he couldn't kill all three, and might expose a weakness due to excessive dojutsu consumption, getting himself killed. After all, the three wouldn't line up for Yuto's dojutsu to work. Time to retreat, Yuto thought. The hilt, sensing his intent, transformed into a golden leopard-like beast, tangling with Onoki and the others. Its essence, born of dojutsu, feared no death, making it the best cover. Yuto focused his chakra on his optic nerve, greatly enhancing his vision, spotting the broken-down carriage in the distance. The wooden box containing Madara Uchiha's right eye lay in the wreckage. Yuto flew towards it. This bait must be obtained. From the moon god's perspective, it's a must-have top-tier Kekkei Genkai. Even for Yuto, his curiosity about the box's contents was overwhelming. On the way, Yuto carefully sensed the chakra emanating from the wooden box. It indeed felt like Uchiha's power, not low level. with waves of dojutsu energy exuding the characteristic of the Sharingan. To deceive the moon god, even if Konoha didn't have Madara Uchiha's right eye, they had to create a convincing fake. Otherwise, the bait would be a joke. Obtaining the item and breaking through the encirclement, Yuto felt this mission was perfect. However, as he neared the broken carriage, a figure also approached. A beautiful, frail woman, her waist slender like a weak willow. She looked at Yuto with fear and anticipation, her eyelashes trembling like a prisoner awaiting judgment. As a shinobi, Naruto Hyuga had mentally prepared herself for this moment. Either you're not Shinosuke, and you kill me, or you are the boy I long for, and you spare me. Whether you face death or defect, I need an answer today. She just wanted an answer. Yuto instinctively looked around, strangely relieved. Fortunately, Sensei isn't here. The golden leopard disappeared, and Minato wiped his kunai, finding no blood on it. What an impressive technique. Minato sighed lightly. Unlike simple repulsion and attraction, this technique was on a higher level. The transformed animal's hilt had high intelligence, strength surpassing Manda, speed faster than lightning body flicker, and it could release cutting forces similar to wind release. Moreover, as long as the moon god's eye power existed, it could eternally entangle its opponent. He left. Onoki floated in the air, tearing off his shredded sleeve. Minato, can you track him? I heard you Konoha folks set up a bait. Don't tell me you didn't leave a flying thunder god mark. Hold on. Minato smiled at him and disappeared. Boom. Amidst the explosion of paper bombs, Minato returned covered in dust, holding a charred wooden box. The flying thunder god mark was discovered by him. He took the bait and replaced it with paper bombs. At this time, the Yellow Flash had not yet mastered the ability to imprint the flying thunder god mark on flesh or chakra. Although he was a genius, implying he would have major breakthroughs over time, in this current year, he had not reached the pinnacle of his abilities. So we can't chase him, the Raikage shouted. This monstrous man had a hole in his chest from Yuto's strike, but he roared as if nothing had happened. The rogue ninja you Konoha trained can't be dealt with by yourselves, Minato frowned. We can't really say he's from Konoha. After all, no one has seen his face under the mask. Neither I nor Onoki are blind. Even if the power levels differ vastly, that was revolving heaven. Who else but a Hyuga with the Byakugan can use that technique? Minato just shrugged and stopped speaking. The moon god took the bait and disappeared boldly, marking the end of the alliance among the 4 major shinobi villages. After today, they were enemies once again. Talking is useless. Let's go. Onoki yawned. Minato, give my regards to Hiruzen. He's younger than me. Why didn't I see him on the battlefield? Wonder if his Enma can withstand my dust release, haha. After speaking, the 3rd Tsuchikage floated higher until he became a black dot in the sky. Turned around without any pleasantries, and walked towards the Kumo shinobi forces, his aura still filled with burning battle intent. Seeing the 2 Kages leave, Minato sighed in relief. He looked far into the distance, where intense chakra waves and fierce ninjutsu clashes stirred up a storm. Even from afar, Minato's hair was blown by the distant wind. He suddenly thought of those legendary Rinnegan eyes. It seemed the Uzumaki member of the Akatsuki and the Moon God. Minato flicked his kunai and was about to use Flying Thunder God when his subordinates rushed over. Minato-sama! Minato-sama! A Hyuga Chunin, exhausted and breathless, said, "We've searched for a long time but haven't found Lady Mako." At the border of the Land of Rain and the Land of Earth, a group of shinobi in yellow-brown clothes stood silently on the leeward side of a hill, waiting for something. Finally, a black dot in the sky rapidly enlarged. Onoki landed, and a strong Iwagakure Jonin approached respectfully. "Tsuchikage-sama, we've gathered everyone. The Kumo forces are to the east. We can easily take them." "Good." Onoki closed his eyes, recalling the wounds on A's strong body. Can you protect the Kumo shinobi while injured?" Yuto landed from the sky, releasing the girl's hand. He timed it perfectly. 3 minutes had passed, and the mask mode automatically deactivated. The youth looked back, knowing he had distanced himself from the shinobi of the 3 great nations. They would never find him. He undid the transformation jutsu, returning to his youthful form and build, but did not remove his mask and black robe. "What is this?" Yuto asked softly, his voice through the mask losing its original tone. "What's inside the wooden box?" Mako's heart pounded as she saw the moon god suddenly become shorter and slimmer. "He didn't kill me and flew me here. Is this his true form? Though tall, he doesn't look like an adult man. As I suspected he is." "Speak." Yuto's tone was impatient. I don't know. But it seems the Hokage made it. He visited the Uchiha clan often." "That makes sense." Yuto nodded and sealed the wooden box's contents into a scroll. The solitary mountain peak fell silent. Through the Hanya mask, Yuto looked into the eyes of the main family girl, pondering how to start the conversation. Unexpectedly, Mako suddenly rushed over and hugged Yuto tightly. Being so close to a Hyuga was usually dangerous, but Mako, having neglected her training and grown thin, was weaker than when they first met. Yuto, mastering the 100 healings, had monstrous recovery abilities. Mako might hurt Yuto, but could never kill or seriously injure him. Moreover, the Branch House youth wanted to see what Mako intended. Thus, they embraced on the mountaintop. "Shinosuke, is that you?" Mako's voice trembled. Yuto remembered his sensei. Tsunade was a carefree person. She often trained with Yuto in the Senju clan's backyard. As Yuto grew stronger, their sparring became more intense. When exhausted, Tsunade would drink a large gourd of sake, and even someone of her lineage would feel its effects. Yuto once carried her back to her room and handed her over to Shizune. That was the first time they hugged. He found his sensei's body warm, soft, and carrying a faint citrus scent. But now, on this solitary peak, hugging the main family girl gave him a different experience. Thin, with bones almost touchable, almost weightless, and a deliberately applied rose perfume. It was the scent of despair and death. Yuto closed his eyes, raised his hand, and after a slight hesitation, prepared to reveal the harsh truth. The Branch House youth was sometimes quite classical and, if possible, preferred to let people die knowing the truth. However, as he opened his mouth, the girl in his arms tightened her hug, as if trying to meld into him. Yuto was momentarily stunned, then understood. "Yes, it's me," he confirmed softly, his voice gentle. Simultaneously, his raised hand struck down with chakra-enhanced strength and gentle fist, smashing into the girl's abdomen. His powerful hand tore through skin and muscle, cutting organs until it pierced through her abdomen. Mako shuddered, her body going limp as a colorful glass ball hidden in her ninja pouch fell and rolled away. As a shinobi, it was a pathetic, disgraceful way to die. But as Mako, in her final moments of consciousness, she felt true happiness, even if that happiness was based on mutual deception. She died in her lover's arms. Tien. Oof, that's one hell of a gut punch.